The fastest woman to complete the dual expedition to Kangyatsi 2 and 1. How does it feel?
I can't put it in words that it was really something that I didn't even aim for, but it happened. Some things just came on as an added bonus, and it was just like you want something, but then you get 5 times of it. So yeah, that feeling is it was beyond words. Mountain teaches you a lot of stuff. It teaches you to take life one step at a time, because you're just putting one step ahead of the other. You're out of breath, you're out of everything, you're out of energy. Your only mind is focused on achieving that, because I have a job to do. I'm not full time into this.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Welcome to yet another episode of Beyond Her Story on Wonder Woman Wednesday. Today we have with us Sneha Baid. Sneha has been in the technical field for nearly 2 decades and has started up with a new passion on mountaineering. She is the first and the fastest woman to have scaled 2 peaks back to back very recently. Interesting journey, so we'll look forward to this conversation with Sneha. Sneha, welcome to Beyond Her Story. It's such a pleasure to
Hi,
have you.
Sneha.
Such a pleasure to
Hi,
have you.
Sneha. Same here, and it's great to meet you again.
Yeah.
After so many years. Okay.
So I have known you from Harman days, and we've known each other for 5 years.
Yes.
And I know that you are a proper techie person who's into fully technical things. And when I saw your recent post on LinkedIn, I was a bit surprised that you have gone for a mountaineering quest, if I may
Yeah,
call
yeah.
so. And I was really curious to know what was the reason behind it. Like, were you always a person who wanted to do certain things, or was there something that triggered this?
Yeah, so Sneha, mountaineering really started only 2 years back in my life, and before that, a series of incidents happened in my life, which took me through a lot of ups and downs, and in a quest of refiguring myself, finding myself again, understanding what really I want to do with my life, right? Like, I had to really come up with a version 2.0 of myself, and then a subsequent outcome of that was mountaineering. Okay. So in that quest, when I was exploring different things, I was doing meditation, I was trying, some art and this and that. And then once winter, I was just sitting at my house, and it was December, and, I didn't have any plans. And I just decided I'll go sit in Ladakh, right?
Okay.
And December in Ladakh is brutal.
Yeah.
Okay. Generally, right?
Yeah.
So I just packed and I went. And then as a tourist, though. And I really loved it. I loved it because it was quiet.
Mhm.
There weren't many people around. It was empty. And it was pretty cold, very cold. But I was really calm, and I really felt connected with myself over there. And then one thing led to another. So I said, okay, let me go back again. So I said, let me try a Chadar trek. So then I got into Chadar trek. That's another, the trek which I did, where, a little bit extra than this, because here I was in the comfort of the hotels, right?
Yeah, correct.
There you have to go stay in the tents,
Tents,
and, and deal with those temperatures of minus 20, 30 or whatever it happens in the night. So I survived that, and then I came back. And then, so what I did is, every time I survived, before going, I used to make a promise to myself. If I am able to do this, this is the next.
Okay.
Like a next goal achievement,
Yeah,
and for myself, a medal.
Very interesting.
So then before I went this, I said, okay, if I'm doing this perfectly, I'm going to go for a trek.
Mhm.
And I wanted to do an EBC trek, Everest Base Camp, like that,
Okay.
something. But fate had other plans, and I wanted to do that. I went to a store, and I was talking to one of these guys who is also a trekker, and he just changed my mind. He said, why are you doing this? You should do 3 passes.
Okay.
I'm like, I have not even heard of this, He's like, no, you'll be able to do it.
Okay.
And I just came back and booked.
Okay.
And I just read the itinerary, and
Yeah.
it had 3 passes, 3 high passes, and Everest. Basically, you have to go 5-6 times beyond 5,500 meters. But
Okay.
trust me, I've never been to that height before that. So
Yeah.
for me, it was all new. And
Yeah.
it was too much of exploring at one time. I just went and booked. And then I started reading about it, and I was scared. Because the first line that comes up in Google is, it is tough.
Okay.
If you read about 3 pass, I'm like, okay. Then I stopped reading Google. And then I landed up being there. So things worked out, because I was the only person going with a porter over there, and porter cum guide. And then there things changed, because there was a lot of firsts for me there,
Okay.
right? I was on my own,
Mhm.
right? Carrying my backpack.
Yeah.
On a move every day, literally every day. It was a very packed schedule. So 18 days, 16 or 17 days of, everyday movement.
Okay.
Even a rest day in mountain is not a rest day. you have to go gain some height and come back. It's
Oh.
always like that.
Okay.
You cannot reach certain height and just be there. You'll get sickness, mountain sickness. So you always have to go further and come down. So there's no rest day really, literally.
Oh, okay.
You can have rest days if you plan it that way, but I didn't, and they gave me an itinerary and I just went. So it was really tedious, strenuous. I had to deal with fever and stuff for a couple of times. And then, you know, when you're with yourself, right, for like 18 days, there's no network, nothing, and I was completely with myself. And, you know, the 3 passes routes are really, really isolated also. You'll see only 4-5 people, and only those people you'll keep meeting every time.
Yeah.
So a lot of things I could connect with myself, and, you know, although I was killing myself every day, I really wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
After I came back, I tried assessing my feelings that, you know, do I want to go back again or not?
Mhm.
After all of this that I
Yeah,
went through.
yeah.
That time I had again promised myself that if I'm able to do this and I come back normally fine, I would then think about climbing.
Okay.
Right? So this happened, and then the next step was climbing. So now what to do? Then I started exploring. So then I hit this basic mountaineering course. I was searching about you know, how to get into mountaineering, to learn the technicalities, and I had no idea, literally no idea. So I read about basic mountaineering course, what is it? And then there are 4 premier institutes in India, mostly run by Army and others, which provide you this facility where, you know, you can go and train there.
Mhm.
It's my like 25-26 days of training. It's very strenuous again. You have to be there on the move, very, very physical, very
Okay.
intense. You get to learn a lot of rock climbing, ice climbing, and, you know, you're exposed to a new world.
So
which
the
you don't
first
know.
time that you went on 3 pass and all that, that was without training.
Yeah,
without,
that was a trek. It's
Trek,
still,
but
it's still
still-
classified as a trek. Yeah, but I went without
bi-
much of physical fitness,
that's
honestly,
what,
and
yeah.
also without training. So I also struggled. Not
Yeah.
that I didn't struggle, but
But-
I realized, you know, where I'm lacking,
Yeah.
what things I need to work on.
Okay.
Then I went for this course. Before that, I had started some physical workout, right? Because I
Okay.
wanted to make sure the course I'm able to sustain. It's
Yeah.
going to be strenuous. It was written also.
Yeah.
So I started a little bit of running and this and that and all those things. Obviously, it was a very strenuous course. I learned a lot of things. I came back with the knowledge of what I'm good at, what I'm not comfortable with, what I need to learn more,
Mhm.
and which direction I want to go. Because a mountaineering is a lot of different things. You can do technical, you can do normalized climbing also. You can go in any direction, right? All
Okay.
8,000ers are different. And technical peaks are, you know, smaller peaks, but they're much more tougher. You know, you need to really know how to navigate and do stuff like that. So then you choose your path and you decide how and where you want to explore. So after that, I tried my first peak, Friendship Peak, in that's 5,400 meter approximately in last year October.
Okay.
But because of snow conditions, we couldn't summit.
Okay.
So I had to come back. Physically, I was good. I was
Yeah.
going good, but I didn't know after coming back that could I do it or not.
Yeah.
So that feeling came back with me that I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm capable of doing it because I
Yeah.
couldn't complete because of snow conditions.
Yeah.
There was fresh snow, so I didn't know whether really in life I can do it or not. So I kept lingering on it, and then another opportunity just hit by, which was a winter climb in UT Kangri. It's in Ladakh. I don't know why I signed up for it. It's an extreme winter climb, but I said, okay,
Let
why
me
to
see.
give so much a break? You know, try
Yeah.
this. There also I went. Same thing. Fresh snow happened.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
okay.
at the time we started doing it, and then we had to turn around. So then, by the end of the last year, before going January this year, I had this in mind that I'm turning 40.
Hmm.
I really need to do something remarkable for myself. That I remember, okay, I have done this,
Yeah.
right? Not about any achievement or anything associated with it, but I was like, what am I doing? I
Yeah.
need to take this up because I have a job to do. I'm not full time into this, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So as much as possible, I have to make use and get the best out of it, right? So January again, it didn't happen. So came back. But the good part is I learned how to accept rejection. That's very important in mountains.
Yeah.
You should know when to turn around,
yeah.
right?
Correct. Yeah.
So since first 2 incidents were like this, so I was at ease. Okay, nahi hota hai is a part of the game.
Yeah.
Submit nahi hota hai is okay. It's a 50% chance, or more than 50% chance is you will not be able to submit because of whatever reasons.
Correct.
So I was okay with that feeling. So I went this time, and then this company Boots and Crampons came up with this dual peaks.
Hmm.
Very enticing because Kangyatse 1-2, but also very scary because 6,000 I've never done.
Yeah.
I've not even touched a 5,000 peak.
Yeah. but
5,000.
you
So
to
I have
come
trekked 5,500, 600,
Huh.
right? Trekking is different from climbing. So I have not done climbing of peaks of 5,000 or even any climbing, right? I have not achieved. So I was like, okay, the only thing is I have a training. That's it. And can I do this? And I not do this? I am by myself. I don't even have friends.
in the-
Now I know people.
Yeah.
After going certain amount of time, you know people, you learn from each other.
Correct.
But at that time, I didn't have anybody. No guidance, nothing, no knowledge. So I didn't know whether my training is sufficient. What I'm doing is good enough because see, we stay in Bangalore, right? You don't know whether you're running and gymming is good enough for climbing.
Correct.
Because there you have altitude,
Yeah.
there you have temperatures, there you have all kind of
Yeah.
whatever can Murphy's
Yeah.
law happening there. So you don't know, whether you are capable and your training has worked well. So with all those fears and inhibitions in mind, I contacted these guys. And the first thing also what I understood from them is if you have never done any peak, do one. But something in me was kicking. No.
I want to
I
do
don't know, but I want to do. I don't know if I'm able to do it. I'm capable of doing. I just went up signed up for both. And then I was of course scared. I was, thinking every day, what will happen, it will happen or not happen. But then eventually we went there. It was tough, of course, for me because 2 peaks, 1 go without having any summit experience. And we were only 3 of us who were doing 2 peaks back to back, and I was the only woman. There were 2 other men. So then we did Kangyatsi 2 first in the order, and then that's 6,250 meters, and then came back to the base camp, and then we went to Kangyatsi 1, which is a couple of summit camps in between, but then you finish and then you come back all the way to base.
Okay.
And then you come back, But I was like, it was surprising for me that I could finish it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was not that what I planned and I went, but I just went. So mountain teaches you a lot of stuff. It teaches you to take life one step at a time.
Okay, not even one day.
No, because you're just putting one step ahead of the other. You're out of breath. You're out of everything. You're out of energy. Your only mind is focused on achieving that. So it's just one step at a time. And then you're continuously, obviously, for people like us, we are new to mountaineering. I'm not even an expert. But you're continuously fighting between thinking about the summit and not thinking about the summit, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when I did my summits, I was totally in some other zone. I don't know the route. I don't remember how I went, what I did.
Yeah.
So I just did and I was back.
Yeah.
Of course, it was exhausting. But before doing that, I also promised myself the next, which, probably in
upcoming.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
A more difficult one.
Yeah.
Maybe 1, maybe 2, but of higher elevation
Mhm.
and higher technicalities. So, yeah.
So how many days was this summit?
The summit, 2 summits took around 1, 2, like night to night. If you see, it might be 3 days or something, 3 to 4 days.
Total?
Yeah.
Okay.
The summit to summit, like from the base to summit, coming back and then going back.
So in
to the
total,
second.
from your journey from Bangalore to back,
that's more than like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You have to trek all the way, right? So you have to reach the place first, where the mountain is. That itself is a high trek. So when you land up in Ladakh, that's
Okay.
3,500 meter already above sea level.
And
Then you start trekking from there,
Okay.
from Leh.
And then you do the.
Yeah. So you have to reach the mountain. They're not like very road accessible.
Okay. So that means you were out for around 15 days at least. So one question that comes to my mind, Sneha, is, we as women, we have a lot of things we have our monthly cycles and our menstrual cycles. So what are your thoughts on that? Like when people talk about trekking, they just talk about the journeys and what they have done and things like that. But I am sure, as a woman, when you're taking this journey, there are a lot of things that come into play. So maybe if we can talk a bit about that.
So I think it's about, not too many women are into mountaineering, right?
Is it because of this?
Might be not. Might be it's also very physically straining, and might be also it's time consuming for everybody to give that much amount of time, always. People are coming in. I'm not saying they are not. There are a lot of women coming in, but the ratio is still supposed to catch up. Having said that, we have to deal with a lot more, right? One is you can have obviously menstruation cycle coming at any time, right? You cannot control and manage. It's not by luck if you have a time period where it's not there, it's good.
Yeah.
But a lot of time because of stress, it can come earlier also,
Correct,
right? Because you're doing so much.
Yeah.
So it so happened that, 2 I did, finished. And then 1, we went to camp 1. And the day we're supposed to get out and go to camp 2, it starts.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't get time. Because there's a hurry. No, we have to go. And I couldn't even register in my brain. Hey, I have it. It's there.
Yeah.
How do I deal with it?
Yeah.
I couldn't get the time to recollect in myself. But I made something very clear. I told my trek leader and guide, in spite of them being men, you have to also be open.
Yeah.
I think they're ready to listen. They're ready to support.
Correct.
I told them very clearly, today I might not be at the best of my pace because I was walking good.
Yeah.
And climbing good. So I will not probably be at the best of my pace. I'll do it, but I have this. It started and it's going to,
impact a little bit.
It's going to impact and slow me down.
Yeah.
So, be careful. and they were conscious about that. They helped me a lot in that with that aspect. And then I went to Camp 2, and then obviously you have extreme cold conditions.
Yeah.
Of course there are problems, right? There are other issues. The washrooms are
that's
mud
one more
washrooms,
thing.
in nature, and higher camps you don't even have the washroom tanks, right? You have to deal with that. But people are supportive. You have your team members. You can always tell them, the basic symbol is just turn around. That's it. Like, you also have to come out of those inhibitions. You can't sit and think over it, right? You need to know when to act, when to react, and when to communicate properly and clearly with people that okay, this is going on. I need this break and time, and that's how it is. I think it's good if you openly tell. They'll help. I think they're also having that inhibition of going and asking a woman directly.
Correct.
So if we bridge that gap and openly tell that, hey, I am having this and it's coming, and I might have this problem, they help. That's the help I got.
So that's an interesting story, Sneha. To be frank, if I had known, when I had seen you, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Nearly.
I was a different version then. I myself wouldn't have known I would do this any day, any time in my life. I didn't know.
So it's really amazing. But like you mentioned that you had gone through a lot of ups and downs, and now you are at the stage where, you're ready to take on the next challenge. I'm sure it must not have been easy, right? There's some point where you may have to do something or, cross the line. So how did that happen for you? Because there are a lot of people who go through these things but don't know what to do, what next. So, if you could at least share your experience.
So
nice.
In general, a lot of circumstances in life is not in our hands, right? What happens externally is we can't control much. But a lot of that impacts you in a lot of ways. And of course, mental impact is the easiest and the fastest thing that will happen, the first thing. And we don't realize when we are going through it, right? Honestly, I was not very sure that, I'm into a mental health issue or depression or whatever you call it. But of course, I was fighting every day to come out of it. But I think the awareness is very important. I'll not say I'm the best person and I did the best way. But there's a lot of help and resource available now. People have to come out. People like us or anybody who goes through it, they have to also come out and ask for help, right? I was lucky. I had friends. And I had my own way of coming out. For example, when I get into a big problem, I kind of isolate myself and, work on myself. Go deep inside and then come out. But that's my pattern, which I know, right? It could also backfire in some circumstances, but I was lucky it did, right? It worked for me. And then I did a lot of other experimentation. I started working out. I started running. When I started running, it's funny because I started running to get up early. That was only aim. I want to get up at 5 because all my life I could never get up at 5. And then when you get up at 5, what do? You have to do something, otherwise you'll go back and sleep. Then I started running. Then running started losing weight. I was 86, 87. And then one thing led to another, and then, then I started losing a lot of weight, and then, I wanted to do strength training, and then, so those small things, and then I entered this whole phase of trekking, and, liking this environment, connecting with myself. So those things happened, and then it worked wonders for me. Mentally, it did a lot of good to me, taking those breaks where I'm totally disconnected. When I'm in the mountains, even if there is a network, I do not deliberately switch on my phone. I keep it off unless, of course, my family knows and they know everything. And usually I do not have an intention to switch it on because I want to disconnect. That disconnection really works for me. So you have to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. For some people, staying with other people will work. Staying with family, friends will work. But you have to know that things are changing in you. It's not easy to deal with something on your own. So know your boundaries, know your capacities, talk to your people, have your circle. I can only say have your circle, right? Circle of friends, family, whoever you can entrust in. But I would say that, first thing is to observe that you are changing. Something is changing. The way you respond to things, the way your anxiety is increasing, all of that will impact. So I think there is where you start building yourself again. Build yourself mentally, physically, emotionally again. And that's why I like to, tell people, understand your journey, understand your patterns, go and seek help. Seeking help is the most important. Raise your hand that I need help. It could be therapy, it could be friends, it could be anything. It could be resources online. It could be talking to somebody, just talking to somebody. Sometimes letting out itself is the biggest thing, right? We don't do that. But slowly you understand yourself. That whole process takes you out of a lot of things.
But I think, like you rightly said, the first thing is you need to understand that what you're going through, and you have to understand that, because a lot of people, what they do is they push it down
Yeah.
and that leads to a lot of other things as well.
And it's not easy, Sneha,
Yeah.
because sometimes you are into that and that seems normal.
Yeah,
That seems a
correct.
normal life.
Yeah,
That
correct.
seems correct. And another thing I would say is, one big thing I've learned in life is you need to have different set of people in your life for different things. That's very important, right? For your passions, you can have people. For your hobbies, you can have people. For your, just chit chatting, you can have people. You can have friends, with whom you share your workouts. You can have colleagues, but you need to have different sort of people in different life and also different passions in your life,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
You need to have time for your health. You need to have some passion that you're pursuing.
Correct.
For me, it's mountaineering. For somebody else, it's anything else. But what they do is they bring a balance in your life.
Yeah,
If anything falls,
yeah,
one of them will fall, right?
Yeah.
Anytime, not everything goes together. Everything else will still keep you going.
yeah.
So that was my biggest lesson out of this whole thing.
Sneha, mountaineering, trekking, everything will, it needs a lot of physical strength.
Yeah.
And being together in corporate world, it's we know that we don't take our physical health very seriously in terms of we are working, we have a lot of other things, and we normally neglect or even leave alone gym. We even don't do basic walking or things like that because we are involved in too many things. So what was your thing when did you have to work on your physical strength first and then take up trekking, or how did that work out for you, or did you just go dive in and then you started thinking about physical health?
No, yeah. So both actually.
Okay.
So I started running a little bit before.
That's what you
Yeah,
said.
I started running, and that was for other reasons, obviously, to get up early. But then I started losing weight, and it got me hooked. Like it's like a dopamine effect of each other. One good thing leads to smaller other good things,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it starts
Okay.
like that. So then I got hooked to it. But then I was only running. I was not doing any strengthening, right? So then it started impacting my lower back, right?
Okay.
So then I realized, no, this will not work alone. And then, I got some guidance also that I need to get into strength training, right? With the bones and everything, it needs to be strengthened. So that's how I did. But to come to your point where you're saying, and then running and gymming and, some bit of rock climbing, this is what I can manage.
Yeah.
Whatever I can manage, I'm doing that. But you're always juggling priorities. That's
Yeah,
true, right?
yeah.
I also have a work.
Yeah.
So morning I get up, I'm up at 5, I get out with my cycle, I go run, and then I go to the gym, and then I come back. And then when I come back, I'm at my work, right? And then the whole day I'm working and doing other things and juggling, continuously juggling. But all our priorities, right? We can't just drop any of the balls. So it's your commitment to it, right? Some days you will not be able to do. You have not slept well,
Yeah,
right? Your sleep
correct.
cycles are disturbed. It is quite possible, right? You have to understand. If you get up and your body is telling you no, you need a bit more to rest and recover. Recovery is very important, right?
Yeah.
So in general, for a physical workout to really affect you, your nutrition and recovery and sleep is equally important.
Correct.
Workout is only 1/3 of that story, right? So only doing workout is not going to work. So if I've not got sleep or have not eaten well, any of this will, impact on my workout cycle. So listen to your body. One of the days, if you can't, take back, rest. There's a high tendency we start beating up ourselves because you are in that routine.
Yeah.
I want to get out
Yeah.
and I want to do something. But it's okay to sit back and give time, because if you don't recover, you will get injured.
Yeah.
So, but keep going, keep trying, and then you will reach somewhere. You will be better tomorrow than where you are today. So it's a one day kind of thing. Whenever you get more time, do more things. Weekends you can try to explore more. I do rock climbing. We go a bit far with some people. I'm not an expert, but I'm learning with them. So those things you can do. But again, I mean, prioritizing health is very important for women.
That's one thing
It's one thing I want to
Yeah.
one thing I want to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at what age.
Yeah.
You have to prioritize your health and yourself.
Yeah.
In general, prioritizing yourself and health will help you prioritize everything else in life.
Very true. Yeah.
We
Very
think
true.
that we should keep ourselves and our desires and our ambitions and our whatever on a low level, and not really. Many women think like that, I think, which may be wrong, but it's not that way. If you prioritize yourself, if you keep your health first, you will actually be able to do wonderful things for everybody else around you, right?
Yeah. I think that is true for both men and women. Of course, women prioritize their health last because they have a lot of other responsibilities. But I think today's generation and today's times are such that, we spend a lot of time working, especially corporate life when you talk about. So I think that is when we start pushing health
Yeah.
down in the list. And I think that is what.
I mean, people are dealing with families and
Yeah,
children and so
yeah,
many things,
that's
right?
what-
So everything is pulling you.
Yeah.
But it's called self-love,
Yeah.
in short, right?
Yes.
What are you doing for yourself?
Yeah.
If you keep yourself happy, you can actually keep everybody else happy.
Yeah.
Because that means keeping yourself happy
Of
is taking
course.
care of yourself
Yeah.
and
You can do a
chasing
lot.
your goals.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small bit every day, but still chasing and going behind them.
Yeah.
Which is for me mountaineering, for somebody else it could be art, and somebody else it could be something else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sneha, you work full time and you're managing these treks. So how does that work out for you?
Yeah, good question. So I'm lucky. I get support from my work, from my boss, a lot of support, But I also plan, right? It's not like I suddenly get up and I'm saying I'll go. So I have to keep my plans intact, in place, and know what I'm going for next and how much time, and then pre-plan my work, right?
Okay.
Because now I'm in an independent role, individual contributor. So I need to make sure that my work is being done, or it's not impacted because of this. But in general, I am getting support to do this, and then I have to balance both. So it's that way.
Okay. Thank you, Sneha. It was great listening to this conversation because, like I said, the transitions and the grit with which you have taken this journey, I think it's really commendable. And I hope that listening to your story, a lot of people get strength and figure out that they can do something and change their journeys around. So thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you for calling me, and thank you for giving me this platform to share my experience. I am a very, very beginner in mountaineering and stuff, and just trying to learn about myself and living my life. I have not achieved anything big here, seriously. But yeah, I mean, if I can help anybody through my experiences, it'll be really great.
So what we can do is we can leave the link to your LinkedIn account, and if, let's say, somebody wants to get in touch with you to know more about this,
Sure. Please do that.
can be
Yeah.
done.
Thank you. Thank you
so
Sneha.
much.
Yeah.